Large podcast conferences are at a crossroads, with the podcasting community wondering how next year's conferences and beyond will be reshaped by what's happening. Here are three possible futures. Hello and welcome to another podcast Pontifications with me, Evo Terra. I am back from Ireland with lots of hats, Irish whiskey, and some thoughts on the kerfuffle that happened at Podcast Movement this year. But before you say, ugh, not another hot take, rest assured I have no hot takes for you today. And if you've managed to avoid the news completely, well, I'm not exactly sure how you did that. But good news, this will not be a rehash of the events from a moderately progressive viewpoint, let's say. I'll do plenty of that on Twitter. Instead, on the episode today, I'm looking at the future of podcast events. 3 futures, to be precise, that I believe are more or less likely to play out for future podcast conferences. Futures that have been brewing for some time for all public communication channels, not just podcasting. Now, a quick caveat. There's no way in hell I'm going to both sides this issue. If you've been listening to me for any length of time, you know I've little patience for deplorable people. And yes, I mean to use the word deplorable. You'll learn why in just a moment, and you have been warned. Now, one future is where the free speech at all cost torchbearers are not curtailed, and the purveyors of hateful and intolerant ideologies are able to express their anti-inclusive rhetoric in public without fear of reprisal. The future where conference organizers either welcome them or are fearful of repercussions if they don't welcome them to the event. Now, if that happens, Newton's third law will emerge. In case your physics is rusty, that's the one that says for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. In this instance, I mean protests. Civil unrest, if you like, but at a podcast conference scale. Think protesters with t-shirts and banners gathering directly outside the booths of the companies that are actively spreading this disinformation. Activism from the stage, perhaps, with panelists and presenters naming names. Disruptions from the audience in sessions featuring those who seek to undermine democracy because they can turn a quick buck. Now, how much fun will a conference like that be to the rest of us? And would you buy a ticket to that same shit show next year, which is only going to be worse? Or, again, equally likely, is a future where nothing happens? I mean, after all, the vast majority of attendees at Podcast Movement 2022 were blissfully unaware of the conflict. Having merchants of hate and sowers of disinformation didn't impact their conference experience at all. And for those who did notice, well, most decided it wasn't worth their time to care. Or they just didn't, and still don't, see what all the fuss was about. They'll still buy their tickets next year. They'll still submit to speak. They'll still attend and promote the event. I mean, after all, this is the event, whatever their event happens to be for them, and the benefits of being at their event outweigh any squabbles and bickering that happen that, again, they don't care about. Now, I believe that lots of event organizers are counting on this future, if I'm honest. So are, I think, most of the sponsors and speakers and exhibitors, because it's the path of least resistance. It's a thing that may be hot and heavy now, but will eventually blow over. Yeah, well, maybe they're right. That'll be a blow to the marginalized voices amongst us, and one that those marginalized voices simply won't stand for, so they won't attend. And podcast conferences, especially large podcast conferences, will trend towards catering to the bigger, more moneyed side of podcasting, pushing out not just the aforementioned marginalized voices, but the smaller, more creative, and downright fun side of podcasting. How much fun will a conference like that be, where it's all business all the time? Okay, yeah, sure, fun if you're in the business of podcasting, but not so much if you're in the fun and the wonder and the joy side of podcasting. And the last, but again, equally likely future I see, is one where podcast organizers do make a stand. A future where they, the people who run these shows, carefully vet every single speaker, sponsor, and maybe even attendees. A future where they make it absolutely clear that their efforts to make a truly inclusive event means saying, no, you are not welcome to those who actively work to belittle, shame, and dehumanize segments of the population. Or the opposite can happen. Conferences specifically designed to attract a subset of the podcasting population. We already see that with She Podcast Live, Black Podcast Festival, and many other conferences and gatherings already in the planning stages. Conferences that aren't designed for everyone interested in podcasting. Now, are these echo chambers? Well, they can be, sure. Do they restrict different opinions from being presented? Oh, fuck's sakes, give me a break. Anyone saying that is either being disingenuous or still has no idea what an asshole they sound like to the rest of us. They can, and probably will, form their own conference where they can pine for a world of segregation, don't ask, don't tell, and where less than half of the population had the vote. Fuck them. Oh, hey, look, you're still here. Hey, thanks for listening to this not at all progressive look at the possible futures for podcast conferences. Guess which one I'm into. With that, I shall be back next week with yet another podcast Pontifications. Cheers!